What are some of the key components that you find are lacking in an organization's talent management strategy, and how when you think about it, it needs to impact both the morale of an employee, because you want to retain the employee, but you also want employees to perform well. So there's a performance factor. So what's your perspective on that?
For one of the things that I would think is lacking is perhaps a healthy balance between build versus buy. And by that I mean there is a tendency that because, about the change that I spoke about previously that is so fast, there's a tendency to not necessarily look ahead and do the level of workforce planning that needs to be done. So what tends to happen is there's a need in the business, it gets given to recruitment. They go to market, they bring somebody in.
Right.
Typically bringing somebody in is probably a bit more expensive than maybe having trained up somebody within the organization.
Right.
So I think it's that looking ahead and really understanding what you have in terms of capabilities in your own associates, and then looking ahead to see what are we going to need and putting together a build strategy around your team. In terms of healthy succession planning, are you looking across your whole organization, not just for those people that perhaps are, let's say, more noticed around the organization, but truly looking across your organization at capability and at the development to move people up within the organization, so to promote from within. I think the impact on morale there is probably clear, which is if I see that I can learn and develop in my organization and I'm rewarded for doing a good job by whether it's movement, promotion, opportunities and so on, it builds that loyalty to the company, but equally it builds a work ethic and productivity. I think one of the other changes that needs to come is a value put on knowledge of the company. So, in my terms, I would say Unisys knowledge. There is a certain value to having somebody who understands the way things work in a company, who understands your processes or your forms or your policies and so on. And the culture as well, who understands that and then just gets on with their job. Or perhaps I just need to teach them about the new product or the new solution that has come out or the new service. Versus bringing somebody new in who perhaps, yes, absolutely, there's value in what they bring, in that they bring some outside-in knowledge, perhaps they bring domain expertise that we didn't have, but really in a way I now have to teach them all about Unisys and about how to work and how to get things done. I remember one of the sales managers saying to me, Emma, I need you to teach my salespeople just how to get a deal done in this company. And that's exactly it. We had to put a program together to teach them how it gets things done. So, so that there is value around that, and I think we need to recognize that, both in succession planning, both in building capability and in workforce strategy, really.
The role of a CLO today, as companies are starting to recognize that technology is at the core of their business, and companies are starting to realize, ooh, we're digital now. We've got to become digital. We've got to transform. So you hear terms like digital transformation, and we've got to get our people to really understand what, to be ready for the digital world. Well, those are two very broad statements. And when you take that and you synthesize it in terms of your role of helping the employees, number one, understand what it means in terms of them personally in their role, that's one thing. The second, as companies go through a digital transformation process, there's also the corporate side of what the impact is to the whole organization. So that must be really challenging for a chief learning officer.
I think it's challenging as well as interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's been a wonderful opportunity, I think, to embrace it. Unisys being, a technology-driven organization, we have a lot of the tools. We have Yammer, we have Skype for Business that has instant messaging and so forth. So we have all of that digital, which can become quite noisy. we also have an incredibly virtual workforce. So I think probably top of our, learning, training courses and so on that constantly, when we measure it, is virtual teaming, managing and leading a virtual team and so on. And so it's trying to really teach Unisys how to embrace all of this technology that's available in a way that it maximizes collaboration, but doesn't be disruptive to the point where it actually impacts productivity, that it really has to increase productivity, not decrease it. So I think that's one of the areas where we really have had to look at how to use the technology effectively, how to use digital. On the other side of the house, it's forced me to keep much more abreast of what is available from a learning technology perspective, because once again, now with the increasing bandwidth and so on, we used to not be able to deliver video across our network, and in the end we had to go and buy a separate solution for training so that we could actually deliver video to our associates in China and in Malaysia and so on, because we didn't necessarily have the bandwidth for that. So in some cases, Unisys University has been that a little bit ahead, because of what we needed to deliver to make it a little bit more interesting and compelling for our users to be part of. In some ways, it's also forced us to look for creative solutions. So when we closed down a lot of our facilities, I think I said earlier on, some of our generations were used to coming for classroom training. Right. We found a wonderful application that was a virtual classroom that we ended up using for our sales kickoff the following year, because we had a virtual auditorium that you came into, and you went into a full auditorium to watch some of the presentations. We had a whole virtual partner room, exhibition hall, that they could walk through virtually with avatars and meet our different vendors and partners that we worked with. So, it's looking at that kind of world, and I think it's really been an interesting challenge for me to look at all of the tools that are out there and really determine which were going to help us achieve the learning that we needed to. Because there's a lot of very attractive, cool toys out there, but they cost money, and they need to deliver a return on investment. Right. So it's constantly looking, seeing what's out there, and then determining what the need is to see, how we can pull them together. And we've been quite fortunate in a number of the tools that we've engaged for our different programs and the feedback that we've had around that. So it's finding that blend between providing the education on the new digital skills and so on, while using the technology yourself, but not getting sucked into some things that perhaps are more fun and don't really deliver ROI.